thanks for sitting in. Scott, it's over your eyes. Andy, you're just kind of stuck with lead guitar. I was off most of last week, and I thought I would pick something fairly simple to do a sermon on. Thanks. And, you know, the Ten Commandments, I mean, it's just there. Just read them, you know. But the problem is that the more you think about this stuff, the more complicated it becomes. And there's lots of ways to look at it, and you can go into great detail trying to explain or understand what exactly it means not to bear false witness. Is that just in a courtroom, or does it have to do with telling the truth in other situations? Like, you know, when somebody asks a question and one of those, someone you love, and they really don't want your honest opinion, you know. Anyway, I kind of wanted to take the task of not getting into each commandment so much as how are they working for today. Okay, so here we go from Exodus 20. God spoke all these words. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol, whether in the form of anything that is in heaven above, or that is on earth beneath, or is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing children for the iniquity of their parents, to the third and fourth generation of those who reject me, but showing steadfast love to the thousandth generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not make wrongful use of the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not acquit anyone who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. You shall not do any work, you, your son or your daughter, or your male or female slave, or your livestock, or the alien resident in your town. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, but rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and consecrated it. Honor your father and your mother, so that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or male or female slave, or ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. There's Moses' top 10. And somebody read through this and said, well, at least I never coveted my neighbor's donkey. 10 good rules. You know, when Moses came off the mountain, he had 3 tablets. They each had 5 commandments on them. And as he approached the people, he slipped a little bit, and one tablet fell to the ground and broke in 1,000 pieces. And Moses said, I give to you the 10 commandments. At least that's how Mel Brooks portrayed it in History of the World, Part 1. But, you know, could there have been some more? Now, if you look at the Hebrew Bible, there are a total of 613 commandments. Now, some of them are pretty particular about what you can do on a Sabbath and what kind of clothes you can wear and how to deal with mildew and things like that, and what you should eat. So being distilled down to 10 was a pretty major accomplishment. There was a famous Jewish thinker named Rabbi Hillel, and he died, he was over 100 years old, when Jesus was just a youth. And he said, that which is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow. That's kind of the mirror image of the golden rule. That's the whole Torah. The rest is explanation. Go and learn. Well, could there have been another 5 commandments? I mean, we amended the Constitution 27 times since it was written. There was a preliminary Constitution that was being talked about in the 1780s. And there was a group called the Anti-Federalists who were concerned about having too much power in a federal government. Patrick Henry was one of those Anti-Federalists. And so there was a compromise, and the Constitution, as the basic Constitution as we know it, was approved with the addition of the Bill of Rights, of the first 10 amendments that ensure certain freedoms. The Anti-Federalists were concerned about the federal government having too much power, and this new thing called the presidency would turn into a monarchy. So anyway, we have the 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights. 17 amendments have been added since that time, and they had to do with abolishing slavery, protecting voting rights, giving women the right to vote, having a federal income tax, prohibition or not prohibition, and letting 18-year-olds vote. As society changed, amendments were added. So, society has changed a lot since 3,000 years ago when the children of Israel came out of Egypt and Moses received the 10 Commandments. Maybe we need some more. I'm just throwing that idea out. Okay, major trends going on now that affect all of us. Influence of materialism. 2,500 years ago, Isaiah and Amos, 2 famous prophets, we have their work in the Hebrew Bible, in the first part of it, were concerned about how the rich were oppressing the poor. Isaiah said, "Cease to do evil, learn to do good, seek justice, rescue the oppressed, defend the orphan, plead for the widow." And Amos had these famous words, "You are buying the poor for silver and the needy for a pair of shoes." It would be logical that things have not gotten better in some areas, and materialism is so important for many people today. Well, we have a lot of money. Brad and I were talking about travel ball a little bit ago, and kind of exclaiming that 7, 8, 9-year-old kids are playing travel ball, and their parents are, spending thousands of dollars for them to go around the country playing baseball or soccer, or there's even travel wrestling now. Well, that sure wasn't an option when I was growing up. Well, first of all, I was a terrible ball player. But second, parents didn't have that kind of money. So we have a lot more options today because we have a lot of disposable income. And because we have disposable income, there's lots of people out there that would like to help you spend it. So we get targeted ads. We get encouraged to have, the best and the newest and the finest. That's just kind of part of our American culture. And at some point, somebody needs to figure out, we're not getting anywhere. If we get something and then the new one comes out, where are we? Well, we got to get that too. It's just kind of a vicious cycle. They didn't have to worry about that much 3,000 years ago. It was just enough to get by. And a lot of the world doesn't worry about that because what we see as necessities are seen as luxuries to many people in the world. And the problem is that we kind of get blind in this whole rat race of having more and more and more. One of the reasons that Sabbath is kind of going away is that, we got a lot of hobbies, and maybe, we need to work every day, and we got to take care of property and and so on like that. It's push. But we dream of luxury, you know. I mean, that's why they sell lottery tickets, because people will buy them. Okay, another factor is technology. It has changed our lives, and we have not figured out as a church how to deal with people having cell phones, because it changed their life. You know, we're not communicating as we might with a whole generation of people, because they grew up always having a cell phone, and how they communicate is different than how, when you're older, you've grown up at a time before cell phones. We don't have a lot of solitude anymore, because wherever we are, we've got power electronics to put buds in our ears if we're taking a walk, and you know, radio's on the car, and somebody might call and text, whatever. It's just a different time. We haven't figured out what that all means. And also, you have a smart appliance. You know, that smart appliance may be just not benignly figuring out what your patterns are. It may be keeping a record of what you do, where you move in your house. I mean, we've got smart thermostat lights and different appliances that can kind of know your movement, so it knows when to turn on the air conditioning and stuff like that. The problem is that that's just not staying in your house. That information may be going out. You know, and Alexa is sitting there ready to answer your questions, but is Alexa listening at the other times that you don't say, Alexa, wake up, or whatever? You know, we're finding out there's been some intrusive elements in our life that we have paid for and brought into our home and didn't realize what was going on. And how many times have you been with friends or family and there's a lull in the conversation and you realize everybody is on their cell phone? It's just the reality of how we live. And is it wrong to look at it during worship? I often attend a church when I'm in Missouri, a pretty contemporary group of people, or younger people, you know, and they actually kind of encourage folks to text the minister during the worship service. I won't answer, but you know, that's just part of, and a lot, you know, you'd say bring your, turn in your Bibles, and a lot of people have the scriptures on their phone, so you don't have to carry something extra. There's a lot of wonderful things that are part of this life, but we just haven't figured out how much power it should have. Computer has given us abundance of data, but the problem is we don't know if it's accurate. I mean, use Wikipedia. Tons of information, but nobody is a librarian that says everything on here is, as far as science can determine, is accurate. It may be right, but it may not be right. Also, you know, we have information available to us that may not even be important, but it's delusions. And, you know, and the problem with computer is, again, somebody has figured out that if you put the right images or words up, you can lure people into places on the computer that they don't need to be going. And we worry about how our kids are using them. And Facebook, I love to see pictures of your family and your kittens, but Facebook, as you know, is a wonderful tool to take people into places that they maybe want to go but should go. In the last year, Facebook has shown to increase the possibility of violence in a number of countries. In Myanmar, there is a horrible genocide going on against the minority Rohingya people. That has been egged on by folks that have used Facebook as a platform. Groups in Nigeria have been working to try to reconcile. Meanwhile, on Facebook, people who have an opinion on one side or the other are getting fed information about why the other side is terrible. You know, somebody pays money to Facebook to get their point out. I ended up like one of the persons that takes care of the Kings Highway Facebook website. I've not really messed with it, but you know, I get stuff like, you know, for $3, we can get your message out to more people. Well, there's plenty of folks that want to pay that $3. And if you have an opinion on something, you'll get fed other information that's close to that opinion, and pretty soon that may take you to a place that you did intend to go. Speed of information. Everything's fast these days. Quick. Got a new computer. Hard drive. I want the flash drive. 10 seconds to boot up. Why should I wait a minute for my computer to boot up when it can boot up in 10 seconds, right? We're eager to get from one place to the next. A leisurely walk. Nobody does that. We're jogging or, you know, running or, you know, it's just a speeded up culture. And we expect instantaneous response. And, you know, we can sit down with our computer and you can get information and things quickly. You can sign up for things. You don't have to wait for the office to open on Monday morning. Just all kinds of stuff that we're used to, the speed. And, oh my gosh, I don't know if it's taking away our ability to have patience or not. Another issue that we have in modern times that was not a problem Ten Commandment time is kind of an artificiality, because we're never really often there, because we're multitasking. You know, you ever talk to somebody on the phone and you hear click, 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 click in the background because they're typing something? You know, and we know that because we did it too. We're just kind of abstract in our thinking here because we just can't pin ourselves down to being somewhere and committed. You know, and people on TV aren't real. Did anybody cry over the last Big Bang? We got everything Thursday night, got everything straightened out with that run of that program. I mean, I've cried over cartoons. I haven't seen the new Dumbo movie, but I know I cried over the first one. It's not real. But our world is so that we're just less and less authentically human. Not a commandment for that. And finally, the issue I want to bring up is kind of our lost historical memory. I appreciate King's Highway having an emphasis every year on the history of the church. But more and more, it's like when generations communicated, but now we often don't live where our parents or grandparents are. And history is just receding like looking in a rearview mirror in a speeding car. And pretty soon we've forgotten what was behind us. Well, I think that combined in our day, our conscience kind of gets eroded because our brains are getting so much information all at the same time, and every choice looks like it's a valid one, and it's hard to decide. Well, I don't know any commandments that need to be added, come to think of it. Maybe I know ones that I wish they would go away, but maybe that's the one I really need. I look for some guidance from Jesus in this. And the Sermon on the Mount, which is found in Matthew, I just kind of quickly read through that, and okay, he said, you know, it said you shouldn't murder, but I'm telling you, don't be angry with a brother or sister, or you'll be liable for judgment. Well, that speaks to road rage. Do not commit adultery. Do not look lustfully, says Jesus. That kind of speaks to pornography. Do not swear falsely. Do not make exaggerated promises. Maybe that speaks to advertising or our willingness to be sucked in to great deals that we know are exaggerated. It said, love your neighbor and hate your enemies. Jesus says, love your enemies. That tells us something about how we should feel about people that are different than us. Do not make a show of your prayers or your giving. Bad news for TV evangelists. Do not store up treasures on earth, but store up treasures in heaven. Speaks to a consumer culture. Do not worry about what to eat or drink or what to wear. Indeed, don't worry about your body, and do not worry about tomorrow. That speaks for our both need for comfort constantly and the anxiety that comes just trying to keep up. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. Maybe we shouldn't pass on tweets that we really don't understand, or negative Facebook posts. Do not give what is holy to dogs. All your avocations, hobbies, languages, all your possibilities, are you using them to the best? Ask, it will be given. Seek, and you will find. Your Father in heaven will give good things to those who ask him. Prayer. Well, I'm not sure that whether we have 10 commandments or 613 commandments or the greatest commandment or one commandment is important. The important is recognizing we don't want to be told what to do. I'd like to return your attention to a group called One Time Blind.